Hello, fellow Beyond the Gates fans. Back to talk about today's episode, Tuesday, September 9th, 2025. Another solid episode from the show. I have many opinions once again. Kind of the same people yesterday that I talked about that I have the more stronger opinions about. I think we should actually start with Ted today. Because listen, I know that the character of Ted is now finally making an effort to win Nicole back. And yet I feel like I'm becoming more and more anti Ted. I think the writing for the character has always been kind of odd, especially since the recast, that I don't know what we're supposed to feel about him. But after today's episode, when it felt like Ted just really wanted credit right away from not only Nicole, but the entire family, that he's the one that saved the day with Leslie not getting the house across the street from Anita and Vernon, it felt pretty icky. But I understand it. I feel like this is his way of making it up that it's Leslie. Leslie's the one that ruined his marriage, hurt the family. So this is his way of making it up to them. But it also just felt like really desperate. It felt less like Ted trying to win back Nicole and more like Ted trying to get credit from the whole family, which is what Nicole called him out on by the end of the episode, especially since the whole family was dealing with Chelsea's return home and possibly almost being killed by a psycho. Nicole tried to explain to Ted that the family had, more important matters going on. That's why she didn't tell the family yet about what Ted did. But by the end of the episode, Ted manages to tell the family himself what he did just because he seemed to want credit. So, on one hand, I like that the character of Ted is like showing fire again. Certainly, like old Ted used to with the other actor. That's good. But I don't think they're ever going to sell me on Ted and Nicole again. And today kind of sealed the deal on that for me with the way they decided to write Ted today. Nicole's also just been very cold towards him, which I mean, I think she probably should be. But yeah, if they're actually going to get back together, those two have a long way to go. Now, we'll get to some of the Chelsea drama, but the other characters I need to talk about, much like yesterday, are Eva and her mother, Leslie. Eva has had a change of heart lately where, she spent a few months really calling her mom out on all of her shit. But lately, at least in the past couple episodes, Eva really wants to seem to help her mom. Now, part of the big reason she wants to help is that Bill went and threatened Leslie again, and Eva doesn't like that. Eva doesn't like these powerful men trying to push her mom around. And the chatter I see online is that Eva is more like her mom than we're seeing, and that could be the case. But I think there's just more layers. Like, Eva, of course, is going to be loyal to her mom. She was when the show first started. They just had a falling out after the whole big reveal. And it was during that big reveal right here on this channel that I talked about. I didn't like how it seemed the show was stripping away Eva's backbone. They kind of made her, they really pushed her into being this big victim. So I wasn't big on that either. So for me, it's like, it's good to see this side of Eva again. I like this more villainous side of Eva again. I think that's a good thing for the character. I can't stand her when she's being too much of a victim. So her being a little villainous today, going to Tomas for help, was actually good to see for me. But, I've always liked the character of Eva. I guess I am an Eva stan when it comes to this show. This is why I like to make fun of the Cat stans and why I just talk so much shit about Cat. But today, Kat showed herself for who she is. This classist person. She always takes those digs out on Eva. But Leslie has money now, so we'll see how long she could actually get away with that. Now, Eva's plan with Tomas was a bit questionable. Trying to get Tomas to go against his own boss, Bill, was a hard sell because Tomas has definitely been presented as this character that really wants to become a partner at the law firm with Bill. But Eva tried to hype him up that like maybe Tomas needs to take what he wants rather than waiting for his turn. If the story shifts to Eva using their connection, because they don't have chemistry, as I've said many times, but using their connection, if Eva uses her connection with Tomas to like manipulate Tomas to do things for her, that's something I would love, because it can't fall into the category of real couple for me. I just don't see it for them. I never will with the Tomas actor. So, but that I could definitely get behind. Now, Kat interrupts them by the end of the episode, of course. Kat calling out Eva for always being around her man, but he's always around her too, and Kat never deals with that. And Kat is still the one sleeping with Tomas, even though she's not enjoying herself, just to keep him away from Eva. So that falls back on Kat. But yeah, good to see Eva kind of more on her mom's side. I like it. As for Leslie, she got into it with Vanessa today because Vanessa let it be known to Leslie that since she rescinded her offer on the house across the street from Anita and Vernon, that family that lives there was offended. And now Vanessa's trying to sue Leslie for houses in other areas of the DMV. But Leslie wants a place beyond the gates in Fairmont Crest. That's been her whole point. She even went so far as to try and use the race card with Vanessa today, saying that Vanessa has been racially discriminating against her, saying that maybe she is not the right kind of black for Fairmont Crest. I liked Leslie using the race card. It's a villainous thing to do in this situation, but also real at the same time, that because Kat is the perfect character to show how some people in Fairmont Crest feel about some of these characters that don't have the wealth or didn't come from the wealth. She's very uppity and classist. And so Leslie telling Vanessa she might not be the right kind of black was a fair point. Now, they kind of got into it by like, why isn't Leslie firing Vanessa? Why is Vanessa still wanting to work for Leslie after this whole conversation they were having? Leslie said she was keeping Nicole's friend close. Vanessa said she is keeping her enemies close. So they entertain me. I like the dynamics between Leslie and Vanessa. I would love a character to kind of knock Vanessa down a peg. Sometimes with the whole Joey situation, she acts a little too big and bad for my liking. Maybe that character will be Leslie. By the end of the episode, Leslie's trying to tell Vanessa she'll double her offer on the house in front of Vernon and Anita. So we'll see if that works and if Ted's plan completely falls apart and kind of he ain't getting any more brownie points from the family if that happens. The only other real thing to talk about was Chelsea's PTSD from being kidnapped by psycho Allison. The family tried to have a breakfast for her. She was overwhelmed. They talked to Nicole about it, who said Chelsea might take a long time to get over this whole ordeal. Chelsea was having a conversation with Madison about the rage she felt when she almost choked Allison to death, talking about how she could have almost taken a life. So I think that's bothering her too. We got to see Allison at the police station with Jacob being the psycho that she is. She is a really good psycho, and the acting has gotten better over these past several episodes of her being a psycho. So she's a typical classic soap opera psycho. I don't think there's enough legs for her to stick around right now, but I wouldn't mind her popping up again in the future. But yeah, she was basically quoting a bunch of Chelsea's Instagram posts from the past to Jacob the whole time and driving him crazy. She was also referring to Chelsea as her wife, to really show how cuckoo she is. Chelsea was getting upset that some people online were thinking that Chelsea and Allison were a real thing and were soulmates and that there were two sides of the story. So Chelsea told Madison she wants to make sure that Allison is put away for good and stormed to the police station, kind of got into it with Allison there, confronted her. They were good scenes. I mean, I don't have a lot to say about them, but like I said, Allison's a good psycho. Wouldn't mind her popping up again in the future. We'll see how Chelsea deals with this PTSD after this situation. What it might mean for her and Madison's relationship. The only little thing to talk about is Bill and Dani shared scenes together again, comforting each other again. And Bill was holding Dani at one point until Naomi walked in and interrupted. Naomi wanted to know what was happening between Bill and her mother. She doesn't want Bill to take advantage of Dani when she's vulnerable. It's good to see Naomi sticking up for her mom, but I've been enjoying Dani and Bill being close because I've been saying this since the show started. At some point, they're going to get together again or at least hook up, and I'm looking forward to it because unlike most couples on this show, Bill and Dani have chemistry, and I'm missing that on this show.